everyone. It's my pleasure to extend a warm welcome to Wimmers 2023, the 6th edition of the annual Youth Conclave of YUVA. Since last 5 years, Wimmers has emerged as an important event dotting the calendar of Delhi NCR, attended by thousands of students with intellectuals from various fields mentoring different sessions. Wimmers has become a platform where ideas, knowledge and intellect converge. This year too, we have eminent speakers from different fields, speaking on topics including foreign policy, spirituality, policy making, law and much more. The present session is on topic Politics of Knowledge, Unearthing the Colonial Underpinnings of International Law. The traditional understanding of international law has been largely dominated by normative principles and a series of doctrines that emerged out of European history and experience, extended in time to the non-European world through colonialism, which existed outside the realm of European international law. This session aims to explore whether, how, and to what extent international law can be used for the purpose of furthering the interest of third world people and how it can be included in the current legal framework of the country. I am honored to announce that we have Professor Dr. L. Pushpa Kumar amongst us as our guest speaker for this session. Professor Dr. L. Pushpa Kumar is a professor of law in Law Center 1, Faculty of Law, University of Delhi. He received LLB and LLM from Pondicherry University and earned a PhD from University of Delhi, India. As a Fulbright scholar, he completed postdoctorate research at Harvard Law School, Harvard University, United States of America. He was also a research fellow at Max Planck Institute for Comparative Public Law and International Law, Heidelberg, Germany. He specializes in international environment law with a special focus on Convention on Biological Diversity, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, Sustainable Development, Protection of Traditional Knowledge and Indigenous Peoples' Rights. Sir has contributed in various fields, including making of draft laws and rules for Biological Diversity Act 2002 and the Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Rights Act 2001. He was a member of Indian delegation in COP11 to the Convention on Biological Diversity and the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety in 2012. Sir, we are honored to have you amongst us. Thank you. Chairing the session, we have Mr. Himanshu Khanna ji. Himanshu ji is a master candidate of political science at the University of Delhi. He did his bachelor's in political science from Kirori Mal College, University of Delhi. He was also the recipient of Vimla Sindhi Gold Medal for the 2022 batch, University of Delhi. Thank you, sir, for joining us. I now request Satyat Kuhar ji to felicitate our guest speaker of the session. Now, I request the chair of the session, Mr. Himanshu Khanna ji, to take over the session.
Thank you, Siddharth. So first, the format of the session will be, I'll be reading a concept note for the benefit of the audience to have an idea what the title suggests. Then Professor will be delivering his opening remarks. Thereafter, the floor will be open for question and answer session. We will be taking questions from the audience as the time permits, and that is how we will be following. So the concept note for the session is the colonial and post-colonial realities of international law have been obscured by the analytical frameworks that govern traditional scholarship on the subject.
Automatically offers number. Hello. Okay. The colonial and post-colonial realities of international law. The colonial and post-colonial realities of international law have been obscured by the analytical frameworks that govern traditional scholarship on the subject. The history of the evolution of international law shows that imperialism shaped the discipline. Colonialism, rather than being a peripheral concern of the discipline, is central to the formation of international law, and in particular its founding concept, sovereignty. International law has always been animated by civilizing mission, that is white man's burden, the project of governing and transforming non-European people. The panel discussion today will delve into the third world approaches to international law to unearth the way in which the project of civilizing mission has endured over time, and how its essential structure is preserved in certain versions of contemporary initiatives. For example, development, that is again Eurocentric, what they tell us, democratization, the regime, the definition of democracy which they give us, human rights and good governance, the hegemonic monolithic definitions of international financial institutions which Global South finds unsuitable for its landscape. We all are aware about what conditionalities does IMF or for that case World Bank attach while giving loans to the countries in the Global South, which poses a third world that is lacking and deficient and in need of international intervention for its salvation. In the backdrop of African Union becoming a permanent member in G20 under India's G20 presidency, the topic becomes even more relevant to showcase how the European conception of sovereignty led to the scramble for Africa in the late 19th century, and thereby the destruction of the indigenous structures of organizing law and order at the hands of colonial powers. Consequently, it is important to understand pre-colonial past of Africa in order to understand social structures that had sustained its political life. So now I'll request Professor Pushpa Kumar to deliver his remarks. Thank you.
So I think here only?
Yeah. If you want, you can also say.
Yes. That's better. I think this is it audible, this one?
Oh, so that is
Not much?
video recording, that is for
Okay. That's for recording, okay. Thank you very much. Very good afternoon to all of you. Himanshu Khanna, Vijay Tyagi, yes, I think it is fine. I think we have to keep it closer only.
Yeah.
Yes. And all the participants, students. It gives me immense pleasure to be part of this program. I'm very happy that you have organized this wonderful event on different themes, and we are also dwelling upon the colonization and its effect in international law, the continuing colonization, and in the context of the politics of knowledge and the effect it has in the development of international law. I hope some of you are from political science background, international law background, You might have noticed the origins of international law, how it has developed and how it has traveled so far. So we are going to just try to look at how in the path that it has taken, how it takes shape, and how the shades of colonization is still there in the development of international law and also its discourse. So this is what we are going to discuss today. There are many ways we can look at the impact of colonization in the development of international law. In fact, the birth of the international law itself is from the colonization and their powers, particularly. The League of Nations failed, Second World War happened, then after that there was a necessity that we needed a strong international organization to maintain international peace and security. So at that time a kind of a consensus emerged that no more wars, and this kind of a devastation is not good for the future of the countries and the peoples, and we need to go for some kind of international legal order, and that should be effective, not like the League of Nations. So we must consolidate our efforts, particularly the states which won the international the Second World War. So they wanted to create a new structure. The powers which won the war, obviously they have the upper hand. They grouped together and they formed the alliance with all the states and created the United Nations. And that much is really good. No second opinion on this, that we should not go for such a arrangement. But they have put a seed of such a what I would say that is it a outcome of a colonization or a kind of hegemonic powers they put in the Security Council while creating the Security Council. So the major impact of the colonization or the power of colonization was implanted in the formation of the Security Council first. If you can see the shaping of the international organization. Even though China, France, Russia, UK and USA, they were the powers there. We expected that they will be. It is only in the beginning that they will be, because they are taking major stakes and efforts to organize this, and they are the winning powers. So they will be working more for the international peace. As the times go by, we realized how this is designed and how this is affecting the international peace, the working of the international law itself. So this is one aspect that we have to seriously look at, that how the P5, the concept of the permanent members there, with the power of veto they have exercised while constituting this structure, and how this is adversely affecting the international legal order. Now we are increasingly understanding this. This is one thing that we all should understand, because this is not the purpose, this is not the wish of all the states when we organized or created the United Nations. Why we are looking at the United Nations in the central part of the development of international law is, the UN brings the platform to create international law after the creation of the UN itself. It facilitates and it guards how international law can be implemented in many countries. And whenever the international law is breached, the forum which is available for us is to go to again either to General Assembly or to the Security Council, even though the General Assembly is alive to the expectations of all the countries. And every time whenever there is a problem in the world, in times of, in case of a war or a poverty or environmental issues or human rights violations, the General Assembly has always lived up to the expectations. It comes out with the resolutions, demands the countries to act in a particular manner so that the people's rights, the state's rights are not violated. But unfortunately, when we need concrete solutions, these are only resolutions. The General Assembly resolutions are not binding, but they may act as a soft power, convincing the countries to act in a particular manner. Only to that extent it can help us. But if you want to take hard decisions, immediate decisions in case of emergency, in order to stop war, in order to stop any kind of a terrorism or any other international problems, obviously we have to approach the Security Council where the problem starts. So this is one aspect here that we all should think that how we can overcome. We'll come back to that a little later. And secondly, in the application of international law among the countries, we have noticed one thing, that the Western countries, the European countries approach towards international law is one, and when it comes to the non-European countries, particularly the South, the Western, the South, the approach is different. Most of the international law treaties, conventions, mainly they were consolidating the strength of the West, and it responds to the needs of the West. Even though when we, as the developing countries, even as a bloc, we try to negotiate, we try to modify the provisions to suit our needs. It has always been a problem for us to mend the provisions to favor our the developing countries needs. This has always been evidenced. Even though the countries were all decolonized, most of the countries we become independent. We are all now equal. In the eyes of international law, everyone is equal, every country is equal, state is equal. You have one vote, one state. But it doesn't work like that. When a resolution is passed, when a convention is adopted, when a treaty is agreed upon, the influence of the bigger powers, the so-called colonial powers, they used to rule us. Their influence on the ruled is still there in the background. So that is another aspect. So because of this, what happens is there is a kind of imbalance. The developing countries, underdeveloped countries, they have to face the difficulties. They have to also mend their national laws, national policies to suit the development agenda of such those countries. So this has become a reality. There have been many attempts to stop this. Some of you might have read about the third world approaches to international law, where the scholars have come out very outspokenly to oppose the views of the West and the designs of the West that suppresses the interests of the peoples of the third world countries. Even though I don't like, most of the scholars, we don't like the third world. What is this third world? We should not put ourselves, or we should not name ourselves as a third world. But this is in the eyes of the West. They try to look at certain countries as this. The interest of the people, the interest of the reformers, the interest of the indigenous communities, the interest of the poor countries, they are not in fact taken into account. So this has become a major voice, the TWILE has become a major voice in the international discourse that, whenever we make law, whenever we implement the law, whenever you expect outcome from the law, you have to necessarily look at the developing countries, third world countries, the states, and particularly you should look at not only state as such, you should look at the interest of the people who are living there. People-centric approach was taken by the TWILE, third world approach to international law. And also increasingly we have seen, this is a history, we have seen that most of these third world countries, even though they have come out of the colonial mindset, colonial, the grip, they have become so-called the democratic countries. Because of the colonization, excessive exploitation of the resources and the opportunities in these countries, they are not able to come up because the problems inflicted by the colonialism is still there. Secondly, and because of this, people suffer, the conflicts emerge within the countries, the resources are scarce and we have to fight. When that is there, the problems created by the colonization again the nepotism, corruption, all those things are rampant in these countries. This leads to a kind of a situation that the state exploits their own people. In third world countries, most of the countries, this is the situation. The rulers of the states become elite and they are distanced themselves from the people, and people are again subjugated. There is no difference between colonialism and this now. And this is also most of the African countries face this problem. So this is, and in the Southeast Asia also certain countries, they have these situations. If this is the case, then how to transform the legal order? Lots of work is being happening. Now I see some kind of a Blu-ray coming up that the times have changed. Slowly, we are trying to rearrange this setup because of the voice coming up from the major third world powers, major developing country powers. It signaled in the WTO, when the WTO was visualized, the Seattle conference itself signaled that how the third world countries can assert themselves in putting their points, in leveraging the international agenda to their local needs. But they could not succeed much. The WTO came into effect. And most of the laws, the agreements which came as a package in the WTO agreement, which were, there is they adopted a rule that, take it or leave it. It's a full package. You cannot choose, pick and choose. Then in that case again, the disadvantageous position for the countries continued. So whether you like certain provisions of certain agreements, whether it's a TRIPS agreement or agreement on trade, agreement on services or the agriculture, you have to be there. That is why the subsidy issues always come up. When they give subsidy to their own farmers, it's not an issue. When you give subsidy to your farmers, it is a big issue. You will be dragged to the international forums. So this is how it is designed. This is one of the issues. But slowly, I think that we are trying to overcome these situations. The bargaining power of the developing countries are now increasing. So I'm trying to understand that and how this is going to shape in future. The emergence of the power by India itself is the biggest, the silver lining here. India is one of the major voice for the third world countries. In every international fora, it tries to, make assertions that certain points, whenever they are not, agreeable to the developing countries, India takes a position. And this has been evidenced in the human rights, conventions and the environment-related conventions of late. Whether it is a climate change, whether it is the Convention on Biological Diversity, whether it is a convention relating to hazardous wastes, Basel Convention. So in all conventions, and also whenever the human rights issues happen, India has asserted that how the voice of the developing countries, underdeveloped countries have to be taken into account, and how this is important, and how this is this has the international legal order has to recognize the needs of the global south, and this is becoming reality. We have incorporated certain provisions in the international agreements. If anyone would have noticed the provisions relating to financial support, provisions relating to technology transfer, provisions relating to dispute resolution, we always say that all these things should be channelized towards the developing countries, particularly the financial support as well as the technology transfer. If you ask me how much it is happening, that is not a healthy trend. How much of the technology transfer happens, it is very meager. And how much of the financial flow happens, that is also not a very big achievement, but something happens. That's what I would say. In terms of climate change, I would say that the last conference of parties also, they have realized that this is a big issue. But countries are now realizing that unless we cooperate with the developing countries, the international order is not going to be healthy. That they have understood. So now we are coming to the point that we will be really contributing towards the balancing of the interest in the international law. I see that the sovereignty principle or the equality principle that we have created in the international law is getting a shape in a better manner. Particularly the equality is getting asserted and sovereignty is getting compromised for the cooperative sovereignty, for cooperative ruling, international living. One has to compromise. So that much is happening. And secondly, the efforts to reform the United Nations is also picking up because of the resistance from the P5 itself. This is not kicking start as we have expected, but I think the efforts are being taken. India is one of the major player here, and it has a good support from other countries. Once the moment if you are able to do something in the Security Council to reform it, then I think this despair that we have in this present context will change. And the context that Himanshu has stated, that what would be the advantage or the implication of the African Union becoming the member of the G20. This is going to be a biggest advantage. This is going to be a biggest advantage in the sense that the African Union has 55 members. And most of them have huge resources to contribute to the international agenda. And if they are, already they have consolidated themselves to be one voice against any kind of hegemonic law or any kind of step by the international bodies. If we team together in G20, I think that they will be able to assert and they will be able to change the scenario, particularly in the context of reforming the UN also. So these are the positive linings that I feel that this will be happening. Then another aspect that I would like to share with you is that the power of India. In the times to come, India is going to be one of the major players in international law, in shaping and implementing international law, because of the bold steps taken by the present government, our Prime Minister Modi ji, the kind of a huge respect that we command at this point of time, the kind of a positive note that we have given through G20. It has never happened that the declaration coming out of the G20 has been consensual, and this time it happened. And this itself proves that how India is respected and Indian point of view is respected. All the countries are with us. Now it is a master stroke by India that we have, with our interest, we have included African Union in the G20. We hope that they will be thankful to us. Definitely in international relations this happens, give and take happens. Then India is also taking very proactive steps in creating good neighborhood relations, as well as in the West Asia and other areas. So where the power of India, with the help of all the allied the countries, the states, will have a big impact in international negotiations and the functioning of the UN, and also in the restructuring of the UN. So I think this is going to be one of the major aspects in the near future. That means the India's role in international law. If that happens, I think that we'll be having wonderful time. The other problems like Ukraine or the recent attack on Israel, Hamas and Israel, these kind of problems will be there. I think we'll be looking at it. We'll be looking at it, and India has to respond also in a proper sense. Let us wind up this initial thoughts with a note that the decolonization, even though this mindset is there in the Western countries, as I have stated that there are positive notes that it is changing, and we are for the good we are able to transform their thoughts and leverage the international policies and the provisions in favor of the countries, third world countries, or the other countries, developing countries, underdeveloped countries. This is going to be the order of tomorrow. Thank you very much. If you have any questions or anything to share, I'll be very happy to respond.
I thank Professor Pushpa Kumar for his insightful remarks. Now I'll open the floor for question answers before I give my closing remarks on the same. So the audiences who would like to ask the question, please raise your hand. Our volunteers will come to you. Please tell your name at the institution you belong to, and I'll request you to please keep your questions very precise because we just have half an hour. So yes, volunteers please.
Good afternoon everyone. I am Mr. Ghana from Campus College of Law.
Campus. Three questions, then we'll respond.
Okay.
We'll go to that.
Hello, sir.
Good afternoon.
I am from PGD College. Sir, this was a very interesting question, and in your session you mentioned that India will be going for the major player on international law. So I want to know your point of view on Article 1 in our Indian Constitution, where India is called India, that is Bharat. But I want it should be called Bharat, that is India. So what is your point of view on it?
Any other questions? Yes, please.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Mayank from Bangladesh. Sir, you all know that everything about colonization was in part indigenous is good. So when we say that practices like malpractices like corruption and nepotism are a product of colonization of foreign invaders, aren't we assuming that everything indigenous is ideal and very good and everything about colonization is bad? And because that assumption or like putting the burden of colonization about everything back in the society, is that right or future for extinction?
Okay.
So my name is Entitlementand. I'm a student of second year student of Campus Law Center. So my question was, like for various international organizations, why don't we actually start our international organization, which sources and it starts from Bharat itself for the world. We happen to be leaders of the world from the ancient times, and we are actually emerging in the present day.
Okay.
And the future belongs to the people of Bharat.
Thank you.
So I request
Yes.
the volunteers to start this round of questions as of now.
Yes, we
Take
can.
their answer, and then
Yeah, we can first respond to these questions. There are good questions have come. Then we'll go to the other sets of questions. Right. The first question relating to international lawmaking, the troubles in that, from Kumkus University, research scholar. Thanks very much for this question. India does not have a jurisprudence. Why do you think that India does not have a jurisprudence? We have a strong jurisprudence. Yeah. Yes. I get the point, but I just wanted to ask you that why we think like that. But you are very right. To some extent, we have to reinvent ourselves. We have to understand our roots, isn't it? Unfortunately, we have been ruled by anybody and everybody who came from outside, isn't it? We allowed them to rule us, and all our roots have been washed away, isn't it? Or at least completely eclipsed. Even if it is not washed away, that's not a right statement, because it is still there. We still have it in our blood, in our literature, in our imagination. It is still there, but it is completely eclipsed. That is not in operation. Because India is such a country that the kind of the principles, values, and the kind of a dharmic the setup that we used to have, not only national, not only for individuals under the Raj Dharma kind of things, and not only within the country governance, we used to have a great international relations and international law also. That is the great thing. We used to trade with many countries, and proper international rules were formulated and followed. Rules of war and things were very much respected here. I don't know whether we have time to dwell upon that. It comes to my mind that in Mahabharata war, I'm not talking about the stories, religion, anything like that. I'm just telling about the law. What kind of a mature systems that we used to have? I'm just wondering. When the war happens, war will happen in the daytime when the dusk happens. At the dawn they start, they use the conch. They'll start the war, they will fight the whole day. At the time of a dusk, when the sun goes down, war is declared. No, there is no war. So now they got to stop. There are evidences that there is no fight after that. There is no clandestine efforts. So hiding, going, hitting, nothing like that. They will respect each other and they will keep quiet. And if any soldier is affected, they will be given medicine, they will be treated. And if it is found that on the other country, I mean the enemy side, if there are many wounded people and the doctors are not available, whites from this country will go and treat them. How can you understand this? This is not prohibited by the rulers. This is allowed. Such a humanitarian, law of war we used to have. This is true. So rules of war are respected. So we used to have a very good stronghold in lawmaking and following. Unfortunately, because from 8th century onwards, this got eclipsed, and After independence only, now we had a chance to look at that. But again, that is unfortunately, since we got independence, we have not worked much on that. Now we realize that we need to work and we need to bring out our own values. At least we have started now. So we will be working and we will be coming out with our own principles. That will help international lawmaking also, not only national governance, international lawmaking also. It's going to happen. But that doesn't mean that we countries are not able to give the sufficient pressure which is required in the international lawmaking process. Fortunately, I was involved in one or two, exercises like that. I used to notice how this happens. Every country, big or small, they used to have their own voice. And whenever any provision is, drafted, first draft will come, then disagreements are put in the brackets, and they will move on to other provisions, and the brackets will be discussed in the next meeting. What are the differences and how to remove that? Every word, is, the, by, everything will be discussed. Plural, singular will be discussed, and they try to suit those provisions according to the interests of the countries. In that process, countries like India will have a major play, because we will not budge. We will not agree to anything that goes into our, against our interest or the developing countries' interest. That is there. But the reality is that most of the countries, even though they are all sitting, they will be agreeing or disagreeing, not for their country, because some other country which is giving funding or pressure. So based on that, they will agree or disagree also. This has to change. But countries like India, they have a strong commitment in reshaping the law, and they are trying to do this. And now the increasing awareness is coming again, among the other countries, the developing countries also, that it is not that always we should agree. We should also resist. We should also modify the languages. It happens. Increasingly, the African Union is one example that they provide a lot of inputs. They come full prepared with a team to provide their inputs, and they do it. And only after all these are discussed and modified, then an international agreement or international convention is adopted. This happens. Okay, and that is because of such experiences only. Whether it is a Paris Agreement or the other agreements that recently that we are looking at, that is working. Now we are able to proceed something towards protection of the world. So this is the thing. Of course, as you have stated, that we have to understand our jurisprudence, Indian jurisprudence, and Bharat's jurisprudence. The question is related to that. So because we are talking, generally I am just looking at it, but definitely India itself is not India. Our own word. Somebody has given the word to us. So let us go, let go of this word, and we need to. I am fully with the word Bharat. I have answered the third question, that what is your opinion on India becoming Bharat? It has to be Bharat. So you should call me Pushpa Kumar. You should not call me Kishore, isn't it? So you cannot give me a name. I should call myself with my name. So that is my very clear point of view, that it is a land of Bharat, a land of cherished values. We must call ourselves, name ourselves as Bharat. There's no doubt about it. This is going to happen. It's only time that it is going to happen. Then UN restricting, restructuring, whether it is it the only solution? It is not the only solution. Restructuring is one solution that will make big difference in the international relations. But how we are going to restructure is the biggest question. Whether you are going to expand the existing P5 to P15 or P5 to P10, or you are going to leave this P concept, the exclusive club concept. There is no veto power. We will have chosen countries on rotation based on the geographical representation, and let us give them the deciding authority. Based on the representation, all the countries will have the voice, and we will have the power to decide on the major emergency situations. So these are the two options available to us, but we do not know how this is going to happen. Among the existing options, it looks like that India and some other countries may be included into the system, so that the voice of the third world countries will be represented there. So that is one option going on. That's why India is garnering the support of many countries. Many countries are explicitly saying that we will support India. So that is one option. But still we are going to, if this option is there, of course India will have more power and it will give more voice for the developing countries, but still it will perpetuate the colonial impact. It is going to happen, isn't it? Another option would be that not to give veto power. Why we should have a veto power? It's completely tyrannical. Why we should have a veto power in a system? You are looking at, on the one hand you are saying that democratic process is the best way. On the other hand, we are implanting the draconian system into the democratic process. It's not right at all. We should get away from the veto power system. Security Council should be there with increased number of people, countries with geographical representations, with proper system to vote or oppose or to sanction certain measures. Those provisions have to be modified so that they will have the power to provide collective security in terms of urgency or emergency without this veto power. So I think that will be the second option, good option. You never know what is going to happen. Whether it is going to happen or not is itself is a big question, because we need a calamity for that. Those powers who have veto power should have the pain of leaving that. They should have that situation, then only they will leave, otherwise they will not leave. Why should China leave that? Why should Russia leave that? They are not, because they don't want another power to come in. How will they leave their own exclusive power? So that is how it is designed. Mistakenly or problematically it has been designed. So we should work for that, because we used to say that when a problem is there, you don't realize that you need a solution. When a catastrophe happens, immediately next day you get a solution, isn't it? So I don't think that that kind of a situation we should move towards. Let us see. Nepotism and corruption, as you have stated that yes, these are also onslaught of the colonial situation. And how it happens? We say that we are all having cherished values Indian system, but we are also crooked's, right? Including me. We have become crooked's. We have become dishonest, isn't it? This is a country which worshipped environment. This is a country which worshipped water, air, land, trees, birds. This is the country, isn't it? But are we protecting it? What happens there? There is a kind of a hypocrisy going on. No? On the one hand, we say that we go to the extent of worshipping nature, but on the other hand, we end up polluting only. So why this happens? The reason is that we have been put into a corner in such a situation. And of course, we are, our country's situation is different. We are able to come out and we are able to discuss and we are able to improve. We are doing that. Most of our people, we try to minimize pollution and all. Dishonesty comes, nepotism comes, corruption comes in a situation when you are deprived. When you are deprived. See, for example, when the British were here, they have plundered everything which were precious in the country. And the opportunities were curtailed. Then people amongst us become traitors. They started working for them. They started identifying others for their own gains, isn't it? They will be fighting for freedom to them, and they will be arrested, killed, whatever. Because the enemies are not coming from outside, our own people. Why these people have become crooked, dishonest? Because of the situations. So when the resources become scarce, when the opportunities become scarce, then the tricks happen. You want to achieve something by hook or by crook, isn't it? Then you take shortcuts. isn't it? See, if there are 100 people sitting here, I have only 5 pieces of cake here. Then somehow the urgency comes that you need it. If you are orderly, we can share it. Otherwise, people will make all tricks to take it away. Isn't this is how it happens? And gradually it happened. So we have been pushed to such a situation that you try to favor, you try to trick somebody, you act smart. Then all these evil attitudes come in. At least because this country has some kind of values in it, and we are able to, because it is living tradition. So it is able to have some good people in the country so that they guided others that you should not do like this. So by their role models we are trying to emulate and we are trying to become good. But this is not happening in most of the African countries. You look at Congo, you look at the Uganda, you look at Nigeria, the kind of countries, what is happening? Anybody who captures the power will try to capture all the oil resources. They will try to make maximum money out of it. They become dictators, killing their own people. This is how it happens. So this is why it happened, because the rulers who were there, the colonialists who were there earlier, they have already taken away everything from them. Now they have left you to fight. Now you are doing it. This is how. So this is what the international law should now respond to. How we will try to ensure equitable resource sharing. How we will provide that kind of a development to them. How we will increase their capacity, to develop. And how we will provide any kind of a financial assistance or some kind of a technology, assistance to them. This is what is needed in international law now. So we have to work for that. The last question about whether why don't we start our own international organization, or why don't we start an international organization that will have a global impact, because India is a major player here. Could be, it's a good idea, very good idea, but in international setup it doesn't happen like that. It doesn't emerge out of one country. It emerges out of a necessity coming from many countries, because it is international. So many countries should support. See, for example, the UN. Headquarters may be in one country. That cannot claim that it has originated the UN, isn't it? So it is also one of the players. You may be a major player, that's a different issue. So you may try to do that, you may work on that. Why I am saying is that we have become part of, or we have mooted the idea of a SARC. The SARC is almost collapsed. You see how it is functioning. Because of the ground realities amongst our own neighbors. All the SARC countries has one problem or the other, isn't it? Whether it is Pakistan, Afghanistan, Maldives, these are biggest problems for us. Bangladesh is another issue, isn't it? Our own friendly countries, Nepal and Bhutan, are refusing to accept you as a good neighbor. We are providing all support to them. We are providing everything to them. But still, they have a skeptical eye only. They try to support China more. This is a ground reality. What can we do? It's very unfortunate. It's happening. I'm telling you. So if that is a situation that we have to, I think the present government, our Modi's approach, look east policy is the biggest achievement now. They are focusing more on it. But because of these, the terrorism and other problems created by our own, neighbors, so it is not picking up very well. But very effectively, they are trying to move towards not only SARC countries. They are going into the Southeast Asian countries. We are trying to, work with them, becoming more friendly. Because how you become a neighbor, leader, because others recognize you, and that becomes through constructive work. So we are trying to help many countries like that, and we are working. And in the process, we are also working with the US or other countries. Let us see how it goes. But it's a distant dream. Maybe in future it might happen. Thank you. I hope I have answered these questions.
I'd like to add on what Sir said in the last. So, it all boils down to discursive power. How we are able to shift the production sites of knowledge from Europe to India. So, almost everyone I think is from higher studies over here, post graduation, PhD, academia.
So we all wish कि एक बार हमारा नाम इंटरनेशनल जर्नल में आए, पब्लिकेशन हो, बट अगेन वो जर्नल कहाँ पे होगा? यूरोप के किसी कंट्री में होगा, बीट यूएस, बीट यूके, व्हाटएवर इट इज, ठीक है. Even if we write about Indian jurisprudence, we have to get it published over there because we want that they should read our work. क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ पब्लिश करेंगे वो तो साइट भी नहीं करेंगे हमारा काम. So that is the discursive power that they have at this point in time. So here it becomes, the fact, the reality, the truth that we need to accept कि जब तक we do not have that alternative sites of knowledge production, we need to claim the space in the existing institutions. For instance, Europe claims that capitalism was one of the byproducts of modernity, which Europe, brought about. Now, in this rosy picture of capitalism, it forgets to tell that transatlantic slavery from African Union was very much co-constituted of that emergence of capitalism. Who will tell that? That is our work. So we need to claim that space. On second point, I'd like to add, which someone said that our own institutions are not that much ideal in that sense. We need to accept कि हर traditional cheese is not good. Maybe caste system, we need to accept that hierarchies do exist and people get exploited. For instance, after the Green Revolution was brought about, we went on large scale irrigation projects. Now what is happening in the state of Punjab is evident in front of everyone. The degrading water table. We also accept that when the wells were dug out in the state of Uttar Pradesh or Bihar, they were on the basis of caste calculations कि किस गांव में कौन सा well वहाँ पे खोदेगा. But that does not mean we throw the baby with the bath water. ठीक है, we need to work on that system कि wells are equitably distributed across the state, but that does not mean we discard the wells altogether. That is our traditional form of knowledge which has helped through centuries to sustain us. So that is the 2 points I wanted to add on to, sir. So if we have time, we shall take
if we have more
2-3 questions more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon, sir. Sir, I am from Asian Law College. I am international law and the law.
International
law and the law.
Whether it is a law or the law.
Yes.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir. I am from Fulbright. So my question is, international laws means laws for the world, not just for some countries. The international laws which are just followed by 100 countries, like rules, conventions, and belong to humanity, etc. Because these laws are not secular university countries, but they are part of these laws, and even they don't have other countries to accept these laws. Is it fair to say international laws will move from the organization to members and not accepting these laws?
Thank you.
Validation of the best. Major powers, what is in terms of soft power, senses like the articles or technical sense or publication, etc. So therefore, up to what extent do you think that this restriction can be justified and taken into consideration?
Thank you.
given depend on the Western literature, and we can have our own independent which can come in the form of.
Yes, I am fully with you. I will explain that. Yes, fully with you.
I will start the questions and move forward. It's already 15
Okay. Okay, thank you. Yes, we'll quickly try to wind up. Whether international law is law or the law. So by that I feel you understand that whether it is the law, the only law that is thrusted upon you, or one at the central stage, or it is one among the laws. Is it the way that you understand the question? You formulate the question? Yes. International law is not the law. Okay, it is a law. Okay. Because the way international law functions is, you want international law, so you accept that. Okay. International law is negotiated and agreed upon by the states with their consent. So that if you don't give your consent, then that is not your law. So you can pick and choose which law is good for you according to the national priority. And also within the law, international law, there is a system that you can choose a convention, and if you don't like certain provisions, you can say that I don't agree with this. I give my consent only to these provisions, not to these two provisions. Other provisions I give a consent, and these 2 or 3 provisions I reserve. It is called reservation in international law. This is also possible. So it is up to you for which you are agreeing to, isn't it? So that way that it is not the dictating law, the law. It is a law for you. And again, another point we have to see that even if you agree to an international law, you give consent, you become a state party, it comes into operation only when you make a law in your country, isn't it? In countries like India, we have a specific adoption theory. So you have to make a law to implement that. Till the time it doesn't operate on you. In the US, situation is different. Any international law, once it is given consent, ratified, it becomes a part of their law. So that is their problem. So this is obviously it is a law, and that law has to really help us, not to affect us. That while giving consent, you have to be very cautious. Okay. Thank you for this question. Law for the world. International law for, I did not get the question clearly. What is the question? Law for the world? Could you please elaborate once again? Yeah, this is the weakness of international law. I got it. Yes. So international law, obviously it has to be, by the term international, it has to be truly international. That's what we expect. But that is not the ground reality. As I just now told that if there may be an international law for only 15 countries, there may be an international law for all 190 countries, 192 countries. It is possible. So it depends on how many countries ratify it. Then they become a state for that, state party for that. Having said that, you have given ratification, you have become a state party, but still you are disobeying the law. You are not following the law. Such countries are there. And the number 1 rank goes to US, isn't it? Now China is competing. Now it is becoming number 2 now, isn't it? It's a problem, but we cannot bell it. So this problem will exist because they are superpowers. Isn't it? See, when the United States directly went to Pakistan without informing Pakistan, killing Osama bin Laden, it was not questioned by anybody. There is no clear evidence that whether India played any role in Canada while killing this person. Every country is making noise. What is this global order? We have to look at, isn't it? Canada issue now, it's us, isn't it? How can they question? Let them first question US. They have gone directly and declaring that we did it, isn't it? So this double standard happens in international law. That is the weakness of international. Okay, we cannot fix it anyway directly. Let's work on it. Are we demanding or expecting validation from the West? Yeah. It is not a validation, in fact. It is a kind of a question, answer to both of you. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I'll just give my preliminary remarks because he has to mainly answer. See, in any situation, fighting within the system, fighting outside the system, there are two options for you. Fighting outside the system, you can only give voice. You may be heard or you may not be heard. The moment you are inside, you will be able to make changes. So the voice that he is giving is that, when you are compelling them to come and learn, understand your situation, why don't you go and give your input there? And by the way, you are going to transform at least some intelligentsia. They will notice your writings and they will start quoting you, they will start celebrating, isn't it? 12 happened like that. The third world approach to international law happened like that. If Chimney would have written only in Indian journals, they would not have even noticed what is 12. Now it is an international approach. One of the approaches nobody can discount. So that is why. Okay. And as you have stated that, very true, I fully agree with you that our the Indian jurisprudence have to be first understood by us, and we should start writing, and we should make the whole world known that this is important. Otherwise, we are trying to borrow from outside only. Those people who are studying law will know that the public trust doctrine, we are saying that it is coming from Rome. So what is this public trust? We have always protected our public properties. It is Indian concept. Unfortunately, we are calling that it is coming from Rome. So like that, there are many concepts. Precautionary principle, everything is precautionary. Sustainable development, you are saying that it's given by World Bank or Western countries. No, we have always been sustainable. Let us be very proud about it, isn't it? So what you have stated is that we have to identify all our sources, come out with authentic articles and books and materials. Let us make them understand. Then we will be able to impose this on us, others also. No, that's our problem. We try to look at them only. We also try to learn them only. We are not learning ourselves. Fountain of justice started from India. What is the meaning of law started from India, isn't it? So why we can read John Rawls, we can read Nozick, we can read everyone. Their perspectives are welcome, we will understand. But let us first understand what is justice in India. Can there be a better story than Manu Niti Chola? Or Chibi Chakrabarti? Or better than Kannagi story? Kannagi in Silappatikaram, you look at it, how? Just note down and find out what kind of justice they have provided. Try to understand that. When it comes to injustice, the king himself can kill himself. He can give the punishment to himself. This is what. So it's a fantastic system we used to have. Unfortunately, because of the foreign impacts, ours have got diminished. We have to the responsibility is on us only now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I'll answer your question. We will not be taking more questions. It's already 3:30. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. You can talk with sir after the session. Sir will be here, but we'll have to proceed. So yeah, coming to your validation seeking tendencies, I'll give you very 4 interconnected examples as such. How many of us today are here wearing kurta, or for that case salwar suit, or traditional our own dresses, sari or something? Since it is an annual conclave, we must wear coat suit, we must wear Nehru Bankalam. So that is the validation seeking tendency. Second example, multiculturalism
Since how many centuries our religions have been syncretic? Sufism, Islam, n number of religions, Christianity came, amalgamated, assimilated, integrated and lived in India. We never even cared. We, since childhood we have been taught to live in, in a multicultural environment. The West, after the World War II, started creating their artificial multiculturalism through their policies of migration. When they needed cheap labor, they allowed people to come into their countries. Over the period of time, once the people have started living over there, they'll of course follow their cultures. As Samuel Huntington writes, that identities are not flexible, markets might be. You might invite cheap labor, but identities will remain with that labor. So once that labor starts seeking to practice their cultural, tendencies in the West, that creates a problem. What we witnessed is, what we have been witnessing in France of lately. So that is the result of this artificial multiculturalism that they theorize, and that too very late, 1990s. And now they come to tell us how we need to practice multiculturalism. A very big irony. The third example is how many of us are not shy, in speaking our regional languages. English nahi bhi aati hogi, tab bhi we have to speak, we have to present ourselves in English. How many of us, do we speak in our vernacular languages? No one. Because our syllabi is based in English. We have to, get their approval for that thing. And lastly, this concept of time. This is very interesting. I also learned it very recently. So there's this IR Professor Navneeta Chadda Bhera. She researches on this dharmic, relationality in the international relations. So the European conception of time is based on linear motion. कि आगे बढ़ते जा रहे हैं हम. The progress is evolutionary. आज जो काम हो गया, that thing will not return. But धार्मिक conception of time is cyclic. India में we always say ना कि कर्मों का फल यही मिलता है. In our common folk language. So we believe कि यहीं पे पैदा हुए, यहीं पे मरेंगे, इसी मिट्टी में मिलेंगे. ठीक है. So that time comes back. Now see, apply this logic into this environmental conservation, what sir recently talked about. When you use knowledge as power, what do? You simply keep on exploiting the environment to the extent there is no, step backing. But when we come to India, we have actually been practicing sustainable development, be it, tribals, be it, the communities which are too much attached to the forest produce. We even need not to be, told what is sustainable development, which is, again, a paradoxical term in itself. So that is how we are seeking validation from Europe, from English, from, the West. So that is, I think it makes clear. So here, I'll like to end. Yeah. Yeah.
Get established. Every but here established. That's what we are doing. Two things we are just want to add. One is when we do it, let us do it with authentic evidence. Even though we are talking too much about our own heritage, none of us go into the real literature, original sources with the, we are not doing it. Peripherally we are touching and we are talking and going. The moment you go and cite the real sources, nobody can refute, nobody can dispute. That is what is required. Second is small point. When we publish or when we go and study abroad, kind of a tendency has developed now that because they don't respect you. So if you join their bandwagon and you also start criticizing India, you will get more attraction. This is the biggest disease which has come now. Let us not forget. Let us try to glorify our culture. Let us try to glorify our legal heritage. Let us try to glorify and defend it. Instead of joining them to, because they don't need another person to spoil us. We should not become like that. Our writings, our speakings should always glorify, justify and protect our. That should be our. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your precious words. And I must say, what a wonderful session this is. Now, with this, we have come to an end of our first session. And I thank all of you on behalf of YUVA and Niti Manthan for attending this session. It has been such an honor to be a part of this wonderful event. And I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guests, Professor Dr. L. Pushpa Kumar and Mr. Himanshu Khanna. Thank you so much, sir. And a wide round of applause and thanks to all the participants who made the event a memorable one, with all the diverse minds we have in this one room. I would like to thank all of you present here for making the time to be with us today and helping us to make this event successful. Thank you one and all. Before we wind up this session, I have an important announcement to make. That although we have come to an end of our first session, and you all should probably move for the tea, our next second session will take place in auditorium at 4:30 p.m. on the trending topic of the implications of abrogation of Article 370. Kindly join us after tea. Thank you, and thank you again, all of you. Thank you so much. Namaste.